with that familiar theme song, we go out to the left coast of the United States and check in with Michael Snyder, who checks out all the new movies for you, so you don't have to. Michael!
Alan, hi, how you doing? How's everybody doing out there? Welcome to the world of movie reviews, and it's a fairly light week because all the attention is focused on Spider-Man Homecoming. So shall we get down to business?
Yes, let's do.
Oh, okie dokie. Like a number of years ago, Sony Pictures acquired the rights to Marvel Comics' best-known superhero, Spider-Man. Some serious box office success with 3 Sam Raimi-directed Spidey movies starring Tobey Maguire as young Peter Spider-Man Parker. And then Sony decided to reboot the character with another actor, Andrew Garfield, as the high school-age superhero in 2 movies, but the box office take wasn't comparable to the killing that was being made on the first 3 movies, and nowhere near what the newly minted Marvel Studios was racking up with movies they produced, like Iron Man. So Sony decided to hedge their bets, and they have teamed with Marvel Studios on yet another version of Spidey, and it was the right move. Coming on the heels of Spider-Man's reboot and Marvel Studios' debut in Captain America: Civil War, we have the first big-screen Spider-Man movie to actually be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's a good one. Set after the events of Civil War and showing Peter as he was originally conceived in the comics, a relatively innocent, brainy, and nerdy high school student in New York, more specifically the borough of Queens, acquired super spider powers from a bizarre scientific accident with an irradiated spider, and is just a novice getting the hang of heroing. We also get a villain, the Vulture, with a backstory and motivation that makes sense rather than being the result of pure evil and megalomania. And as much as I liked Maguire and Garfield, young Tom Holland, a British actor, is the first Peter Parker who could really pass as a teenager, and he's immensely likable. We get no origin story this time, just Peter being mentored by Tony Iron Man Stark, obviously Robert Downey Jr., and Stark's right-hand man, Happy, played by Jon Favreau. And more importantly, we get funny, charming, like John Hughes-style teen angst as we see the lovable misfit Parker in high school with a best friend, Ned, and a crush on a cool girl, Liz, who might actually say yes if Petey gets up the nerve to ask. And, of course, that's one reason they say the title's Homecoming. But another reason is that Spider-Man has come back home to Marvel. We also get Michael Keaton going all black hat Birdman as the Vulture, who has mechanical wings that he's cobbled together from space junk that's been like the trash left behind in all these battles between other Marvel heroes and interstellar villains. So everything kind of makes a little more logical sense than it normally does, I guess. And I have to also mention Peter's guardian, Aunt May Parker, who was first portrayed in the comic books like this cadaverous old crone who reminded me of the Crypt Keeper, but that was way back in the early 60s. And here Aunt May is played by the still sexy Marissa Tomei. And Aunt Tomei, if you will, even attracts billionaire playboy Tony Stark. Some typical high-tech action sequences that you would expect, but they're really well done. And it's the character work here that's most engaging. And speaking of tech, you'll believe a young man can walk up walls, toss trucks around, and swing from building to building on web lines. I thought Spider-Man Homecoming was very solid. I enjoyed it immensely. And if you like this sort of thing, you should check it out. Let's move on. A ghost story is an exercise in weirdness. Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara co-star in this about a recently deceased husband who returns to his suburban home in ghost form to try to reconnect with his bereft wife. I mean, shades of Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore in Ghost, minus Whoopi Goldberg, of course. So Oscar-winning actor Affleck plays a ghost, only instead of a spectral, see-through special effect, he's a guy in a sheet with 2 black holes. I'm not joking. I immediately thought of Charlie Brown's costume, and It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, where like the three kids come up to the door trick-or-treating, and they get stuff put in their bags, and one kid says, "Boy, I got 3 cookies." And Lucy says, "Hey, I got a package of gum." And Charlie Brown, in a sheet with 2 eye holes, goes, "I got a rock." Movie, I'm thinking, hey, I got a rock. Let's just say that this is the sheetiest performance of Affleck's career to date. But there's something genuinely creepy going on here after a while. If you kind of swing with it, it's kind of dark and strange and affecting. There are absurd moments and a couple laughable ones, and then there's sadness and poignance, unexpected considering the sheet. Still, this is going to divide people between those who are amused or contemptuous of this and those who are scared sheetless. And that's actually the production company name behind the movie. I guess they knew what they were doing, and they did it with some boldness. The writer-director David Lowery was behind it. This is the guy who directed the live-action reboot that Disney did of Pete's Dragon, and this is coming way out of left field compared to that. I still think that it's not going to be to everyone's taste. But, man, it's kind of worth a look if you're interested in the bizarre. And anyway, that's A Ghost Story. Let's wrap things up with a foreign film that I thought was pretty wonderful called Mocha, M-O-K-A. And Mocha takes a cue from Hitchcock by way of Francois Truffaut. It's a psychological thriller. The French director and the movie's co-screenwriter, Frédéric Marmot, and it teams a couple of wonderful, acclaimed French actresses, specifically Emmanuelle Devos and one of the grand dames of French cinema, Nathalie Baye. And Devos is Diane, a woman who has lost her beloved adolescent car while crossing a street in his hometown of Lausanne, Switzerland. This horrible accident is like a mother's worst nightmare, or certainly one of them. So Diane's life and her marriage are totally ruined by the tragedy. But she doesn't sit still. The cops aren't finding out who was responsible, so she goes on her own investigation, and she comes upon Marlène, played by Baye. And Marlène is this high-end beauty store owner in the nearby French town of Evian, whose car might have been the one that hit Diane's son. So Diane stalks Marlène and her husband and begins insinuating herself into their lives. And separately, by the way, so neither knows that Diane is doing this. And then there's Diane's estranged husband and some new guy she meets along the way. This stuff really worked. It really comes together beautifully. It is subtitled, but I give high marks to Mocha. You watching anything? You seen any new movies?
No, not really. I saw, let me see here. I saw a couple of movies that you already reviewed. We saw Okja. We watched the rest of that. I thought it was about half a good movie. I think the beginning and the end are fine. The middle is just wandering all over the place and is kind of not focused. Then we saw Baby Driver. I liked that a lot. I thought it was terrific. And
I know you like things like tracking shots. That early in the film, there's a tracking shot following our hero, our anti-hero around town.
I don't know why you say that I like tracking shots, but but I just found that it was just a good movie, and it's very entertaining. Girlfriend didn't like it quite as much as I did, but I felt that it went against convention, and I liked that. So I thought it was terrific.
Any television tips?
No, not really. Nothing. It's the doldrums.
We're waiting for the return of Game of Thrones at this end, but that I guess is all we got. You can check me out on Twitter at Culture Blaster and on Facebook at Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page, and hopefully we will be back next week.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael, and stay tuned. There's more GABNet coming right up.